So let's come back. We'll probably have a chance to come back to this, and we'll come back to your tax question. But I want you to move to some of our specific questions. We had an interesting debate last week that was touched off on Twitter about Sunday liquor. We're not going to do that, but instead our Twitter question for the day seems to come from a couple of viewers who are concerned about the Real ID bill and want to know what's going on that. So we start with you, Representative Drazkowski.
Yeah, it's passed through the Transportation Committee in the House. I think it's on its way to the Ways and Means Committee, and I expect it's going to pass through there. It's some of us. I think it's the Republicans are pretty supportive of the bill. There's some of us. I'm one of them who has hesitations about it, and it's when we voted in 2009, and many of us were here then. We voted unanimously in the House to tell the government that they couldn't even entertain the idea of giving away our control of our state IDs, our state driver's license, to the federal government. So what's changed since then, however, has been there's an element of coercion that the federal government has brought to bear on states, including ours, and threatening us that they won't let people board airplanes or go to military facilities, et cetera, if you don't have a federal government-approved ID. And with that, of course, comes the control that they bring with that. So there's some hesitations about it. We've got a two-track Real ID version in the House, one that allows people to keep their current style of driver's license, and one that elevates to the standards that the federal government requires in their Real ID mandates. So, some of us would rather not succumb to their coercion, and there's a number of states that are doing the same, and I think that's probably the right way to go, but I don't think that's the way we're going to go. I think it's probably going to be adopted.
So the Real ID bill has the same issue as the premium bill that we just talked about, and that is, yes, we have to fix the Real ID, but then they added another piece, which makes it even more difficult. It puts in statute that an undocumented worker cannot get a driver's license. Now, that is an issue. When that first came to the Transportation Bill Committee a number of years ago, it wasn't controversial. Republicans and Democrats understood that's a public safety issue. We want every driver on the road to have a license because that means they're trained and they're insured. And that's a public safety issue that we recognize, that I think law enforcement recognizes. And then it got all caught up in what has become this ideological national debate about undocumented workers and the issue of immigration. And so that has gotten complicated in the discussion about Real ID. They're really two different issues, but unfortunately now they're linked in that bill.
So Warren and I have worked a lot on this issue together. I agree with Steve that I think it's going to pass. I think it's going to pass relatively soon. I hope we strip out these controversial issues. There's no reason to interject that controversy into this bill. It's already, as a function of rule, not legal for undocumented workers to have driver's license. I think that's wrong-headed, but it already is. So nothing would change if we just simply left that language out and didn't make that a function of statute. The points that Warren brings up and that at one time I was more sympathetic to and Steve brings up, I think are addressed by the dual track, that people who don't want a driver's license that has all of these federal features for and they can just use their driver's license for the purpose of driving in the state and for not getting into federal facilities or on airplanes can opt for that and opt out of being mixed into a federal database or having some of their data transmitted to the feds. So it seems like a good compromise position. We probably need to act because this is going to go into full force and effect in a couple of years.
I find it kind of sad that we have to have a discussion about whether or not the federal government has the right to dictate to us whether or not, or what kind of driver license and state ID we have to have due to the decree of federal government. I've been opposed to the Real ID bill, as most people know, ever since its inception back in 2004, when it was passed in the dead of night at 2:30 in the morning by Congress, and they did not have a roll call vote on it. There was no committee scrutiny on the whole concept. It was added to a military appropriations bill that had to pass. And that's how we got the Real ID by the federal government. Now the federal government wants to club states into commission by saying if you do not pass it, your constituents will be prohibited from getting on an airliner. And I think that's absolutely atrocious that the federal government is treating any of its citizens that way, to make them the lever for getting their will done over us. So I think the most important thing as we go forward, and if Minnesota is ultimately going to go into the Real ID business, and that is we need to go into this with our eyes wide open. Records are going to be kept on a federal database. The Homeland Security Director solely has been given the authority by Congress to expand the use of the Real ID card whenever he or she deems it appropriate in the future. Congress, our voice, our representatives in Congress are out of the picture now. And now we're going to have a political appointee be the one that's going to expand the use of that card. Where will it go? Who knows where it will go? Will it be required to be presented for sundry other items and issues to track behavior, to track purchases, to determine where we travel? It's right now it's in the form of a magnetic strip, just like our driver license. In the future, could it be a chip that has a whole lot more capability of accumulating data on citizens individually? We need to have our eyes wide open. The question that I have is if we removed the federal sanction, take away the threat of airline travel, would we then, knowing what we know about the Real ID program, would we really adopt it? Will we really adopt a program that could be used to track all sorts of information on our citizens?
And interestingly, because of the argument that he outlines and the one that I did, it barely passed in committee. It passed by one vote, and I'm guessing they probably had to twist a few arms to get everyone to vote. That would be my guess. So literally just passed out of committee with one vote. So I think it might even be problematic on the floor.
Well, we'll be watching it. I suspect we'll have an opportunity to talk some more about it before the session is over.